Hello there, I'm Wuji, and today I read Solo Leveling Season 1 in 0.25x speed and found 50 new details that you may or may not have seen before. This video is categorized and in chronological order, so if there's anything specific you want to know, then feel free to look around in the video's chapters. But before we begin, please consider liking and subscribing to support the channel, and also please comment down below and share potential details that I might have missed. Enough talk, and let's begin. Number 1. In the prologue, aka Chapter 0, you can find multiple designs that didn't make it into the series, such as the system screen being beige, and even some shadow soldier designs, like in the picture. Here you have Tusk, Igris, and Iron in what could have been their designs, so big props to the guy that changed their design to the ones we have come to love today. Number 2. Not many knows this, but the first time we see anything about the Korean Hunter Association is actually in Chapter 1, where you can see their logo both on a tape and on a coffee service hat. Number 3. During the Double A dungeon, there are some details that you might have missed, such as the boss room being like a cathedral, the statue being some kind of pope that acts under God's will, the sacrificial altar that has the same design as the Aztec altar, and that the pope actually has long and beautiful hair. Number 4. During Sun Jinwoo's stay at a hospital, we can see Jinwoo's sister's friend for the first time, the obvious One Punch Man workout routine, and the start of the second best body transformation in Solo Leveling. Number 5. In Chapter 16, you can see Jinwoo wearing a Ben 10 t-shirt, and then later in Chapters 26, you can see Jinwoo in the same pose as in the original web novel cover. In Chapter 27 is the first time we hear about Jeju Island, and in Chapter 28 we hear about Chi-Yu training an S-rank hunter under his wing in swordsmanship. This is Chaha Inn, which is confirmed in Chapter 78 and 110, and somehow there are readers that still doesn't fucking know this. Number 7. In Chapter 37, the assistant is eating a jelly-filled donut. Brock approves. And at number 8, I will tell you can find every single Easter egg from other series such as games, anime, and etc. The very first one appears in Chapter 46, where you can find Iron Man adoring Jinwoo from the crowd. In Chapter 47, we see Spider-Man atop of a Marvel book with other books such as Disney, One Piece, and Solo Leveling light novels. In Chapter 61, there's a smiling Captain America in the background. We can find Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive series in the background of Chapter 68. There is a troll from God of War in Chapter 71. In Chapter 78, we find out that Lee Ju-hee's father is actually Iron Man. During the beginning of the Jeju raid in Chapter 95, we can find both Captain America and a Batman shield. And last but not least, we have the Macho Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist in the background of Chapter 110. And that's pretty much every single Easter egg from other series in Solo Leveling. Number 9. Many of the characters' names in the series often have a meaning or a trait of the character, such as Kim Chul, where Chul sounds like the Korean word for iron, and Baek Yeon Ho of the White Tiger Guild, where you can combine Baek and Ho to spell White Tiger in Korean. There are more of these names and wordplays, but too many for a guy that has to use Google Translate. Number 10. In Chapter 47, when Wang Dong-soo arrives at the airport, he meets up with the assistant and gets red eyes, which according to the Solo Leveling fandom, happens every time he uses his abilities. You can also see these two pedestrians getting dizzy from all the pressure he releases, which also you can see by looking at the background windows being all weird, implying that he is indeed using his abilities to apply pressure at the assistant. Number 11. Inside the Red Gate were a few hidden details. In Chapter 48, they call the elves Hyaki, which come from Hyaki Yagyo, aka Night Parade of 100 Demons from Japanese folklore, therefore implying that there are more demons than elves. In Chapter 50, the pun of defeating a bear with my bare hands happens twice, and in Chapter 51 we can see that the bears have different mana cores on their chests, where the lower grade has blue and the leader has purple, and the same applies to the snow elves, where their leader has the same 3 purple markings on his forehead. And at number 12, I present you the unluckiest hunter in the world, Hunter James, that got visited by 2 monarchs and 1 OP dad in Chapter 56 and 111. Number 13. During Jin Ho's confrontation with his father, we can see that there's a painting of a crane and the sun behind him. It depends on where it comes from to find the exact meaning.
China!
But the general meaning of it is good fortune, fidelity, grace, longevity, and immortality. This is most likely foreshadowing to what's happening in Season 2 and that he is a man of fortune. Number 14. We can all say that Aizen, Choi, is hella inspired by Aizen, which is the main villain in Bleach. We can also see that in Chapter 65 that his ring glows and gives out energy when he uses his spells, which means that his rings are amplifiers, which increases magic efficiency and power.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd
What? You can get a beef bowl for $2? And also, in the same chapter 67, you can see two friends in the background having way too much fun with Soju. And at chapter 68, we can see the book What is History by Edward Carr, which discusses history, facts, the bias of historians, science, morality, individuals and society, and moral judgments in history. So it's a book for nerds. Done. Number 16. Whenever Tusk uses his abilities in chapter 72, a zodiac table comes up, and depending on what hymn he uses, the correct zodiac will light up. And just in case you wonder where my world-famous profile picture comes from, well, it comes from the image in chapter 79. Number 17. In chapter 80 and 102, we can see that Jin is a big fan of BTS, or what they like to call in this universe, DTS. And in the same chapter, number 80, we can see that whenever Tusk uses Hymn of Dragon Breath, his hood turns into an actual dragon head. Number 18. A fun little mistake they did in chapter 83 is that they use a stock image from deposit photos without paying for a license to use a stock photo, so you can still see the deposit photo logo on the Hawaiian shirt. Number 19. In chapter 88, Jinwoo leaves a massive mana trail after he returns with Kaisul. Then Min Byung says, yeah, it's probably just Chaha and Choi that's arguing over guild shares, implying that they often argue since it has happened before. And later at chapter 89, we hear of Min Byung loving historical dramas, which might be the reason why Beru in the later chapters is obsessed with historical dramas on the TV, since it ate Min Byung and gained some parts of him. Number 20. When Jinwoo visits his mother's hospital at chapter 90, you can find a book, Me Before You, that is about a man getting paralyzed in an accident and will end his life within a half a year, but ends up finding love instead. In chapter 91, we can see the other hunter in the series that can smell mana, but something that I didn't see the first time is that there are a smiley inside the mask filter. And finally, another mistake made by the drawers is that in the background of chapter 91 and within the training grounds arc, we can see the pedestrian walk all casually in the background. Number 21. In chapter 98, we see an old couple that has experienced all 3 raid fails before their eyes. Apparently, their only child was a casualty in one of the Jeju Island raids. One theory is that the only child is the deceased S-rank hunter, En Suk Young, that died in the 3rd Jeju raid. But of course, that's just a theory. Number 22. During the funeral scene in chapter 108, we can see they lay white flowers on the graves of the deceased. These flowers are white chrysanthemum, which is a summer flower used for occasions of death and mourning in countries such as Korea, Japan, and China. Number 23. For the very last detail is one that I can't figure out myself. There are different phrases on the license plates in chapter 110, which are whale, Guzvi, nano, and Areka. If anyone has any clue or idea on what this actually means, then please comment it down below. That was 50 details that you may or may not have seen before. And if you want to see all hidden details in season 2, then it requires 20,000 likes, because I don't want to do another one. I'll be honest. And if you want to support the channel, then like, subscribe, and comment down below. And also, at the release of this video, I have YouTube membership. Just click the join button right there, and you're gonna have an annual or like monthly subscription fee, which you can cancel anytime, by the way, where you can get some exclusive shit bonuses by me, like exclusive footage, some other shit that I'm gonna make. I don't fucking know. But that is, of course, a free will, and only if you feel financially responsible to do so. And that's it. Like, subscribe, and also see you next time when I'm gonna wreck kids at games.